My mom came by herself to Canada with $40 in her pocket, and my dad came with his dad with $800 to their name. And both of my parents worked at least 2 full-time jobs each while I was growing up so that they could provide for me and my siblings to have a successful and bright future here in this country. I grew up with the lesson being that if you go to university, doors will open for better career opportunities and higher wages for you. But I'm here at nearly 24 years old and I have $40,000 in student debt, and I'm trying to Tetris my finances every single month so that I can pay my bills. And the Canada that I grew up with during my childhood is nowhere to be found. If I want to go downtown by myself, I'm putting my safety at risk because of the violence coming from those who are suffering from the worst consequences of the safe supply epidemic that Trudeau put into place. And if I want to eat fresh fruit or vegetables, I better already have it growing, know someone who does and that I can trade with, or I have to count every single penny in my wallet to make sure that I can still eat for the rest of the month. I have to cross my fingers every time I turn my car ignition on that it's not going to break down, because a new car is unaffordable and poses its own challenges with transportation. And the fact that I rent a studio without roommates is within itself a rare commodity and one of the only spaces that I feel safe in physically. In university classrooms, group discussions and class presentations are optional because professors don't want students to feel undue stress or anxiety, and most people my age don't even seem to have the reading comprehension or critical thinking skills needed to navigate this world effectively. It used to be socially acceptable to have controversial opinions and be respected and included in conversation because we wanted to have a variety of perspectives to hear from. Now, if you mention the word conservative, you're labeled a social pariah and a liability. Questioning the liberal agenda is a cardinal sin, and advocacy for religious freedom is only admirable if it doesn't include Christianity. Social media has become the weapon of choice to distract from the reality of our country's state and has left us with a decaying social fabric that is barely hanging on. Medical care is a luxury, and the emergency room is an absolute nightmare. Vancouver has become a scene out of The Walking Dead, and Victoria and Chilliwack are not far behind. This is not the Canada that my parents raised me in. This isn't the Canada I was taught to be proud of and grateful for. This is a Canada that is swallowing up our newer generations whole. This is a Canada that is lost and needs to be brought home.
Youth unemployment crisis. And all summer, we heard countless gut-punching stories about young Canadians who have put out hundreds of resumes without getting as much as a single callback.
As our young people have a quarter-century high in their unemployment, Mark Carney this year is expected to bring in a record number of temporary foreign workers to take the jobs of Canadian youth, driving down our kids' wages and their ability to earn a living. So while he drives up the cost of housing, preventing them from owning homes, he drives down their wages by allowing greedy multinational corporations to bring in low-wage foreign workers that take away Canadian jobs, including in high unemployment regions of this country.
Doug Ford just said the most boomer thing possible. Just look harder for work. It's not the government's fault you're unemployed, even though Ontario has lost more jobs than any other province. It's your fault for being a lazy young person. Says the guy who's never worked a real down-to-earth job a day in his life. For perspective, here are the jobs that Doug Ford has worked. He was a hash dealer. We know this is a fact. Then he worked for his family business under his father. Then he became the premier. He was also a Toronto City Councillor in there. But Doug Ford's never been to a job interview. Doug Ford has never had to hand out resumes. So the fact that Doug Ford says that young people who can't find work just aren't looking hard enough is insane. Especially when under Doug Ford, we've been bringing in more international students than ever before. Because universities can't afford to operate without international tuition, so they're bringing in thousands of international students. All of these people also have to work in order to afford to be here, and companies know they can pay these people less than regular Canadians because they're desperate. And Doug Ford says that it drives him nuts when he sees a young, healthy person and they'll call him saying that they can't find a job. Instead of being empathetic, Doug Ford just says you're not looking hard enough. Meanwhile, Ontario's unemployment rate is 7.7%. But yeah, Doug, young people just aren't looking hard enough. Maybe they should just do illegal activities or ask their dad for a job, like a regular person would.
Hello guys, and welcome back once again to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Now, Canadian Gen Zs are one of the most forgotten generation by the Liberal government in Canada. Canadian parents are worried about their young people. Canadian parents are worried about their Gen Zs. Their Gen Zs are struggling. They are one of the most highly educated generation in Canada, but they fall under one of the most unemployed generation in Canada. Why is that so? They are struggling in silence, one of the most unhappiest generation, and yet the Canadian government has forgotten about them. Even some of these Gen Zs are saying this is not the Canada that our parents raised us in. They are realizing that Canada has changed massively. High cost of living is currently affecting them because they are now headed to facing responsibility. They are realizing that high cost of living, inflation, overtaxation, and everything that a normal Canadian would crash out, it is now affecting them full blown. And these are some of the policies of the Liberal government that doesn't care about the young people. Actually, they are saying they have been forgotten. And let's watch these videos of what Canadian parents, Canadian brothers and sisters of these Gen Zs had to tell us, then we shall be jumping into it.
If you graduated in 2025 with a bachelor's degree, did you know you're more likely to be unemployed than someone who's a high school dropout? And it's about to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Canada's youth unemployment just hit 13.3%. But here's what nobody is talking about. The Parliamentary Budget Officer is warning that this is going to impact your lifetime earnings. We're not talking about a few paychecks. We're talking about permanent financial damage. Economists call it labor market scarring. When you can't find work early in your career, research shows that you'll earn 10 to 15% less over the first decade, even when you find a job. That means that you could lose $200,000 to $400,000 forever. Meanwhile, entry-level jobs requiring degrees have collapsed from 70,000 openings to under 30,000 openings. You're overeducated and underexperienced. Now you might be wondering, what's the government's answer? Well, they have rolled out the Canada Summer Job Program. It subsidizes employers to hire you for as little as 8 weeks. You heard that right, 8 weeks, when this crisis could follow you for 10 years. This is not just about a first job either. This is about being able to afford a home, starting a family, retiring with dignity. We're seeing right now an entire generation that is being permanently priced out of the future that they were promised when they signed up to go to university and take on student loans. If this is happening to you or somebody that you know, follow for more to know what's really going on with our economy. Drop a comment below with your experience trying to find work after graduation. Have you found a job? Are you still looking? Let me know. I'd love to hear.
Study just came out and it just showed that young Canadians are the most unhappiest generation of all. And it makes a lot of sense. Affordability, the issues that they face, they might have the biggest uphill battle out of any generation in Canada. And here's what's interesting about the young generation. They're still willing to vote for the party that created the issues that they're currently facing. In fact, it's almost at a direct tie with the Conservative Party. They're willing to vote for the Liberal Party, who since coming into power in 2015, have created this massive affordability crisis. In fact, if you currently look at the polling of the top 3 priorities for the federal government right now, people are most concerned about the rising cost of living. Second's healthcare, and then next is economic growth and jobs. All 3, scratch that, 2 of the 3 more directly impact the youth than any other generation. And for the youth that are listening to me, there's a reason why the government is currently stealing policies from the Conservative Party. Because they are good, except they create watered down versions of them. My friends, if you want change, you have to vote for change. Plain and simple. And I'm sorry, I forgot to add one more thing. Parents, please don't wait until your death to give your kids an inheritance. Do it now while they're alive. Do it when they need it the most. Help them now. If you die, say in your 70s or 80s, a 60-year-old doesn't have the same needs as a 25 or a 30-year-old who's just starting their family or wanting to start their family and is maybe putting it off because they can't afford to have kids. We have to completely reverse the way we think about money, wealth, and hoarding it, especially when our kids are in need of it. It's got nothing to do with laziness. It's got nothing to do with effort. It has everything to do with the cost of living. It's very difficult. They want to move forward, move ahead. Help them. Help them while they need it. Help them while they're young. Help them have babies, have families, have happiness. They can't do it without you.
Okay, so let's talk about something that's affecting thousands of young Canadians, especially young men. There's barely anyone covering it, so let's dive in a little bit. As of May 2025, youth unemployment rate in Canada is over 14%. And in some provinces like BC, it's nearly 17%. For context, that's more than double the national average. And in some cities like Toronto, some say it's pushing 20%. Young men are often hit the hardest. Many go into trades, construction, and manufacturing. And when those industries slow down, they're the first ones to feel it. Others skip college hoping to work right away, but now even entry-level jobs want degrees and experience. Even college grads aren't safe. A lot of them are working minimum wage, part-time jobs, underemployed, and buried in debt. Degrees don't hit like they used to. And while that's happening, rent is insane, groceries are up, and wages haven't kept up. You're expected to grind while everything around you gets more expensive. This isn't just a work ethic issue, it's a system issue. If you're a young Canadian feeling stuck and invisible, you're not imagining it, the stats actually back you up. But let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Canadian Gen Zs are now skipping saving for a down payment, and they're starting to splurge on travel. Because the price of home ownership has so drastically become out of reach for this generation, they just decided, look, there's no point in even saving anymore. Let's just go travel while we're still young. And I'll tell you right now that it's probably a good idea for them to go travel, because they will get old one day and they probably won't be able to travel when they're older. At the end of the day, when you get old, all you have is your memories from your experiences in life. The things that you have and the things that you own, yes, of course, you can pass them down to your kids, but nobody's taking this stuff to the grave with them. But when you're old, you will always think back on the things that you did in your life, especially when you were younger and when you were, more capable of hopping on an airplane and doing things. Now, obviously, I don't think these people should never save money. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they should enjoy this time to travel when they're young, and then they should focus on saving maybe afterwards, or do both. It's definitely not a good idea to splurge on travel uncontrollably and save nothing, because then that's just bad financial habits. But of course, if you're just saving like crazy and you're not doing anything to enjoy your life, that's not good either. The sad thing is, though, is that Gen Z just feels like there's no point. They have no hope. And I've spoken to several young people from this generation, and there's no plans, or there's no, they in their head, there's no way I'm going to own a home. So why even try? That's how they feel. And it sucks that they feel that way. Like, it sucks that this generation is coming into the workforce and they have realistically no chance of saving for a home unless they make a super high income out of school and save literally every penny.
Canadian Gen Z will never be able to buy a house. We'll carry more debt than any other generation before us, and even if we do everything perfect, the math still doesn't check out on paper. That's sort of the general sentiment right now amongst Gen Z in Canada, is that no matter how hard we work, we won't be able to hit those sort of milestones. And when you talk to generations before us, they tell us maybe you aren't working hard enough. We could do it, so why can't you guys? So let's see what happens when you actually do everything right on paper. When I was 15 in grade 10, I was making pizzas at Little Caesars as my first job. Student minimum wage was about $10.70 an hour, so I could buy about 6.3 junior chickens for every hour that I worked. After that, ironically, I got a job at McDonald's, and while I was there, minimum wage was at 14 for a little bit. At 14 bucks an hour, I could only buy, again, 6 junior chickens. And then I stayed at McDonald's while I graduated high school, and I moved on to uni, and I was working part-time. And by the time it was around 2022, I was making $15.50 an hour. And now I can only buy 5 junior chickens. And you might say, okay, well, inflation, it was COVID, so unprecedented times, supply chain issues, sure, whatever. It still sucks though, right? Almost $5 an hour more, and now I lost 1.3 junior chickens. I think it was about third year in uni when I was about 22. In 2023, I landed some internships and I was delivering packages for FedEx. And now I'm making about $23 an hour. So more than double what I was making when I was 15. But now I can buy 7 junior chickens. It's only 1 junior chicken more an hour, even though now I make more than double. And then shoot towards last year, 2025. I finally graduated. I was super fortunate to land a full-time job after grad, and my pay jumps to about $39 an hour. So after doing everything we're supposed to do, right? I went to school, I got my high school degree, I got my uni degree, I did a bunch of internships. If you do the math, 1070 to 39, it's about 4 times the income, right? So I should be able to buy 24 junior chickens, right? But no, even though my income went up 4 times, I can only buy about 10.6 junior chickens an hour. So that's almost 1.7 times more purchasing power after doing everything right, even though I make 4 times as much income. And here's the part people don't even like talking about. The job market right now is cooked. A lot of people can't find full-time work, or they're underemployed. And what I mean by underemployed is, even if you did everything right, you went to college, you went to uni, you did an apprenticeship, you did something, a lot of them are still stuck at the mall because they can't find work related to their field. So in Ontario in 2026, minimum wage is $17.10 an hour. If you're making $17.10 an hour, you can only buy about 4.6 junior chickens. That means if you work like me for the last decade, you buy 2 less junior chickens an hour. That's not thriving. You're barely surviving. So you're told to work harder, stop complaining, do everything right. But even when you do the math, it just doesn't math. So what exactly are you supposed to do differently in Canada? What's supposed to change?
When I was growing up, I was being told in school that the young people are the future leaders of my country where I come from. And this should actually apply to Canada too. I believe the young people right now are the pillars of Canada in future. All these leaders who are currently in power right now, most of them would have been dead or will be old enough, and they would have nothing left for them to do in this world. So they are doing this and they don't care about the future generation. They are doing things serving themselves in their best interest, while young Canadians suffer, and they are suffering in silence. They aren't speaking out, because when they speak out, it seems like they are going against the government. If they try to speak out, this Canadian government will tell them that you were born the other day. What else do you have to know? They are going to school, getting high education, getting degrees, papers, and everything required in terms of education. But when they go to apply for these jobs, sending massive emails, spending sleepless nights to look for jobs, maybe they end up receiving no callbacks. And when they do, they are invited to interviews and they are asked, what experience do you have? How many years of experience do you have? I mean, you've just came out of school the other day, the other week, or the other year. Where do you want these young people to get experience? These are the kind of challenges they are saying they are getting. I mean, someone has to have a 6 to 10 years of experience to be employed right here in Canada. And how are these young people, Gen Zs, who are recently coming from school, where will they get this experience? How are they supposed to do that? How are they supposed to cope up with high cost of living in Canada, inflation, overtaxation? They are owning, some of them are now starting to own cars. They are receiving high bills of cost of insurance. I mean, they are experiencing the skyrocketing prices of gas. They are consuming this at a very young age, and they are feeling the impact of the Liberal government. And I always advise my young people who we hang out with that sometimes we need to learn from the mistakes of our parents. Sometimes we need to see what our parents are doing, so that some things we can eliminate and some things we can use in life. For example, these Gen Zs, they haven't voted yet. And maybe if they have, only once, but I don't believe most of them have voted. When the time of elections come, these guys should go and vote. And they shouldn't do the mistake their parents did, like voting in the Liberals for very many years. To an extent, they have been growing up and they are realizing that our parents raised us in a better country than the one we are in right now. They are noticing that something has changed drastically in Canada. And if they are noticing that, it means that the Liberal government has been in power for the longest time. It's time for them to change. And I will finish by telling the young people who are complaining or who are watching this video, unless there is will to change Canada, there will be no change. And change only begins with you. Don't repeat the mistakes that our parents did. See you in the next video. After subscribing, tell me what you think in the comment section.